tonight.
I think the best way to describe them is to be more like a summer camp.
What do you think about the Americans refusing to pay any money to help with the reconstruction of Mosul?
Facebook has shut down 32 accounts and pages, including one with more than 290,000 followers, for what it's calling coordinated, inauthentic behavior. The company says it doesn't yet know who's responsible or whether the activity was election-related, but did say the behavior echoed the Internet Research Agency, the Russian troll farm. A federal judge in Seattle temporarily blocked the company from releasing blueprints online for 3D printed guns after 8 states filed suit on Monday. A settlement with the State Department allowed Defense Distributed to start posting blueprints online tomorrow, but the attorneys general argued the guns would be a, quote, serious threat to the national security and public safety of citizens. Senate Democrats filed 2 separate bills today that would make it illegal to publish designs for a 3D printed gun or to manufacture a gun with no serial number. President Trump has said he's available for a meeting with his Iranian counterpart anytime and with no preconditions. But Iranian officials have a precondition of their own. They say before any meeting can happen, the U.S. needs to rejoin the nuclear deal. Over the past decade, representation in Hollywood for women and people of color and the number of LGBT characters and those with disabilities hasn't really improved. A new report found women had about 32% of speaking roles in the top 100 films in 2017, roughly the same share they've had since 2007. And when it comes to female directors, the same lack of progress plays out behind the camera.
As a result of the administration's zero-tolerance policy, more than 2,500 undocumented immigrant children were separated from their parents.
Senate Judiciary Committee members got their first real chance today to question officials from 5 different government agencies involved in separating families after they crossed the border, and now trying to reunify them. It's the only real, substantial action Congress has taken in the nearly 3 months since the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy kicked in. And after 3.5 hours of questions, the senators didn't come up with many answers.
Okay, what percentage of the people who are let out after 20 days actually show up to their hearings?
I don't have that number in front of me, but we certainly get it. It's a small percent. It's a small percentage.
What are the number of children under 5 who have been reunified?
Sir, I don't have that number with me, I'm sorry.
We did learn that Immigration and Customs Enforcement doesn't seem to think there's a problem with facilities where families are held. That contradicts reporting on unsanitary and unsafe conditions, as well as allegations some children are being abused and migrant women are being sexually assaulted while in ICE's care.
Our family residential centers, as with all of our detention facilities, undergo a very rigorous inspection process and oversight process. Any allegations of abuse or wrongdoing that occurs in any detention facility, to include the FRCs, is automatically reported to our Joint Intake Center. With regard to the FRCs, I think the best way to describe them is to be more like a summer camp.
We also learned that the Department of Health and Human Services warned the Trump administration against pursuing the zero-tolerance policy, and they went along with it anyway.
Any member of this panel say to anyone, maybe this isn't such a good idea? Commander?
We raised a number of concerns.
You told the administration that kids would suffer.
There's no question that separation of children from parents entails significant potential for traumatic psychological injury to the child.
But the biggest takeaway? None of the officials think this was a good policy.
Let me ask this panel, who here thinks that zero tolerance has been a success? You can just raise your hand if you think it's been a success. Who thinks that the family separation policy has been a success? Raise your hand.
But nobody will take responsibility for it.
What went wrong?
Sir, it's our responsibility in CBP to make the apprehensions and turn subjects over to our partners at ICE and or HHS.
So as far as you're concerned, nothing went wrong. Ms. McHenry, what went wrong?
I'd have to defer to my colleagues' responses because they're on the front lines.
You wash your hands of this one, huh? Ms. Higgins, what went wrong?
Our role in the process is a very narrow one, so I would have to defer to my colleagues on the logistics of the policies in place today.
Regardless of who in Washington takes the blame for separating families, children caught in the middle might never get over what they've been through. Trauma doesn't end when they see their parents. And for some children, that may still be far off. Government lawyers say that Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Office of Refugee Resettlement met last Thursday's deadline to reunite the 2,634 children who were separated from their parents at the border. This is only sort of true. As of yesterday, almost 2,000 children had been reunited, but about a quarter of all kids are still not with their parents. And that's because the government never counted them for the purposes of this deadline. Of the hundreds of children with parents deemed ineligible for reunification, a handful of cases are still under review. Others had a red flag come up in their file. This could be criminal history or evidence that creates doubt about paternity or maternity. The children of these parents remain in government-contracted shelters under the custody of ORR. Another 120 children have a parent who signed a form saying that they didn't want to be reunified. But the American Civil Liberties Union questions whether these parents knew what they were signing. Attorneys working with the ACLU have identified a handful of parents who say they definitely want to get back with their kids. But the largest group by far are the 486 children whose parents are missing entirely. The majority of these kids have a parent who's already been deported. And for a few of them, their parents are somewhere in the country but out of touch with ICE. With the limited information they have, date and location of removal, maybe a phone number of a family member, the government and the ACLU will have to track down each parent and find out if they want their children sent to them or left in the U.S. to pursue their own immigration cases. A federal judge pressed the government on the whereabouts of the rest of the kids' parents and gave government lawyers until tomorrow to provide a list of all families that weren't reunited and why. The government's lawyers continue to tout their progress in reuniting families. But by declaring hundreds of parents ineligible, all they really did was succeed in meeting the benchmarks they set for themselves.
This is the neighborhood of the Al-Nouri Mosque, where Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi first declared an Islamic caliphate. It's been more than a year since the fighting ended. And this area is still eerily empty, with no running water. Only a few hundred of the roughly 13,000 previous residents have returned. Mosul needs at least $1 billion of basic reconstruction aid, and so far this neighborhood has seen little of it, apart from a donation from the UAE to help rebuild the mosque itself.
خلصنا المنتهى صفحة الإرهاب انتهت. الإعمار يمتى؟ مو مشكلتنا المنارة، مو مشكلتنا الجامع. الجامع إذا بنيته من يجي بيه؟ ما يخالف دولة تبنيه، بس البيوت هاي من يعوضها؟ هاي البيوت كلها داير مدايرنا ما معوضة.
Mohammed Akef became the community leader or Mokhtar of this neighborhood only a few months ago. He's helping the handful of families that have returned to begin the process of applying for government funds to rebuild.
منطقة يعني صدق من نقول عليها منطقة منكوبة الموصل القديمة انتهت. ماكو ضاعت كل ملامحها القديمة بشوارعها ببناياتها القديمة بأزقتها كلها انتهت. انتهت تشوف بس مجرد تفوت ركام مال الأحجار وجثث وكل شيء هاي اللي شوفها قدام عيونك منتهية.
يا باي القصاصة مالك مال
With little help from the government, the Mokhtar has been supplying residents with bread vouchers that can be used at the only bakery that's reopened. The Mokhtar has also been helping Gadir Abram. who's been trying to get the damage from a rocket strike repaired so that his family can finally move back in.
هذا الدار. هذا عندي الواجهة لازم كله يروح تفلش. هذا كله يفلش. هذا باب الحوش. هذا الواجه لي نص البيت هذا نصه كله لازم هد وإعمار من جد وجديد. الاعتقاد أقل شيء سنة ونص زين.
Days later, Gadir was at Mosul's city courthouse trying to get something done about his home. This is the starting point for anyone trying to get their life back together. Here, Mosul's residents submit paperwork and go through a series of background checks before meeting with a judge to make their case for compensation. The process is maddeningly bureaucratic. How many times have you had to come here before now?
تقريباً 20 مرة أزيد من 20 مرة. أصعب شيء من القاضي الصراحة مع القاضي شوية كان الزحامة. يوم سرع على الرسم. يوم سرع على التصديق. يوم سرع على القاضي. فبيها إجراء صعب.
But even completing the process won't bring a payout just yet. The government says it doesn't have the cash for that right now. And so far, not a single valid claim has been paid. Even if residents had the money, there's a bigger obstacle to rebuilding: the massive amount of rubble that still needs to be removed. It's estimated the bombardment left more than 10 million tons of debris behind. In January, a small group of friends launched a social media campaign to clear up the narrow alleys that make up the old city, simply because no one else was doing it.
بدأت الحملة لاستفسار هل يمكننا إطلاق حملة كبرى لرفع الأنقاض من المنطقة القديمة بعنوان أرفع الأنقاض بدولارين أو $2 اللي هي سفرة الدنبر.
Workers are paid around $2 for every load they take to dumping grounds outside the city. They say they've removed at least 17,000 tons so far, but there are some houses that they still can't clear. Despite leading the coalition's fight to drive ISIS out of Mosul, the US won't be contributing any more of the money the Iraqi government says it needs to rebuild. A State Department official told Vice News that the reconstruction needs more than donor contributions, and that Iraq needs to diversify its economy, fight corruption, and ease barriers to investment. A lot of this damage was from American airstrikes. What do you think about the Americans refusing to pay any money to help with the reconstruction of Mosul?
واجب أخلاقي على أمريكا وعلى كل الدول المتسببة في هذه الحرب أن تعيد تعمير هذه المنطقة. عندما دفعت أمريكا ملايين الدولارات لشراء الأسلحة والصواريخ لغرض شن الحرب على هذه المنطقة وتحريرها في أي شكل من الأشكال، من الواجب بالجهة المقابلة أن تدفع ملايين الدولارات لغرض إعادة إعمارها. الذي كان يصرف الملايين والذي كان لديه الأموال لصرف الملايين على الأسلحة لا بد أن يكون لديه الملايين لغرض إعمار هذه المنطقة. فكان من ممكن أمريكا أيضا أن لا تشارك في هذه الحرب إذا كانت قادرة غير على عدم إعمارها.
Today we're out here on the coastlines adjacent to the Pebble Beach golf course, and we're doing a golf ball collection. We've been collecting golf balls since May of 2016, and we're constantly unloading bags of balls onto the beach because a typical collection is about 2,000 golf balls, and I think today we broke 50,000 golf balls. Golf balls are like any other marine plastic, where as they wear down, they release microplastics into the ocean. And those microplastics are consumed by the lowest level, and up the trophic level, they aggregate into the larger animals, which we end up eating. The United States manufactures 540 million golf balls a year, and it's reported that 300 million of those are lost. Obviously, these balls are not all lost to the ocean. They're lost on the sides of golf courses, into forests, rivers, lakes, oceans. But a good majority of golf courses are on the coasts, so those golf courses are contributing to marine pollution. Because golf balls sink, we can't see them. And so if you were playing golf on this beautiful golf course and looked out and saw the entire surface of the ocean covered in golf balls, people would be outraged. But because these golf balls are on the bottom of the ocean and you can't see them, we don't know about it.
So this is where we store all the balls. You can see that these have all been sorted into the different stages. We have stage 1 right here and some down there. This is the President of the US, Donald Trump ball that we recently found. These balls still have a polyurethane gloss and paint on them, and they look nearly brand new. Stage 2, there's some here. These balls have lost the gloss. Stage 3, there's no paint or gloss left on it. These are stage 4s here. They've lost all of their gloss, paint, and all the dimples. Our last stage, stage 5, is anytime that a core has been exposed, these have a rubber band core, and it'll just slowly continue to unravel and release into the ocean or the beach or wherever they are.
Our activities, even ones that seem unrelated to environmental, distress, are having impacts on the environment that in ways that we might not understand until someone actually, like Alex, starts to look at the problem. And so I work with people who study trash in the ocean, for a living. And when I tell them about this work that Alex is doing, they're shocked. It's just part of the issue that even experts who study this their entire lives 24/7 didn't know really was an issue.
If we're able to pass some form of legislation that requires golf courses to stop their emissions, so basically pick up the balls that you're putting in, then we're gonna get somewhere because there's not gonna be new stuff in there, and we're gonna be able to take out what's been in the ocean. It'll be a tremendous change in the amount of plastic, I would imagine. Let's look at totals. That would be 50,126.
There you go, nice, nailed it. Good work.
50,000.
What?
Am I gonna have a bunch of people hating me after this?
Cool, I like it. It's creative. It took a little turn that I didn't expect it to take. I was expecting a little bit more of like a pop rock kind of song, and it went into a more, I don't even know what to call it. It felt like hip hop, but it was much more organic than that. Can't even think of anybody else who sounds just like that right now. It's unexpected.
We weren't even supposed to be there. It was just another run. Took a detour across the river. Make it back home before dawn.
Nothing in the music grabs my attention at all. So I jumped over to the lyrics, and I guess I don't really like when that happens. I prefer a lyric to just be relatable, but not in a way where all I can see is like too much. It's kind of like sexy clothing. If you're just naked, then the fantasy's gone. So what I didn't like is that it sounded like the singer was in the bathroom next door, and there was a flanger on top of, I think, everything, or at least the whole drum kit, and it felt like the whole song had 40% reverb on it, which is absolutely not my taste. I like music to grab me and really grab my attention. This just absolutely didn't do it to me. I need the singer to come out of the bathroom and sing into the microphone.
I'll get you moving like a jello. I'll get you shaking like a jello. I'll fake the number on your hand.
So this had moments of Knight Rider. It reminded me of space. If you then only take few elements but don't fill up the space, it feels naked to me, and I don't want to be naked in space. Do you want to be naked in space? I don't want to be naked in space. I don't think you want to be naked in space.